Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of What's Happening. I'm George Binns, and as you see from the banner a little while, we're starting to do a series of discussions with the candidates. And our guest this evening is a candidate for mayor, Marshal Sterman. Welcome, Marshal.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So you're running for mayor. Obviously, we have a mayor right now, and the incumbent. So what do you think you can do better than he's doing?
Well, let me, I'd rather not express the difference between the two of us because it's a little unfair for me to go and pick out certain areas that everyone faced that weren't at a place they thought they might be. What I prefer, if it's all right with you, to talk about what I see at this time in terms of the economy, the environment, and working with what I look to the future to be in terms of the value of money and what it can be done. I think the difference between the two of us or anyone else that'll run is that I will be much more aggressive in terms of using the government's money or investors' money to put into the city of Beverly today. And when it has to be repaid, the value of those dollars will, and by the way, at a time we've never seen interest rates this low. Mm-hmm. So the barrier to receive the financing based upon what I know to be the assets of the city, I'm just going to take that away and do what I believe will be most helpful to the city. And there's a series of things which I'll be very aggressive with. I do think, in addition to that, there are some great things going on in the city, but they've been at a standstill for many reasons.
For instance, what's it?
Well, I look at, and some of these buildings I'm going to misname because I go back and think of them, particularly a New Briscoe. That's my old Beverly High School. Yeah. Okay? So I'm going to assume that the people that were given permission to go forward and try to build out of that, which might be public housing or other kinds of activities that would benefit the city, there's been no movement that I can see. I've been told, and this may be a little incorrect, that part of the reason is, Marshall, because of the times, COVID, et cetera, et cetera. All I'm saying is that I believe, because I've done this all my life, I can help those people. They've got a good idea, but I'll make sure they get I'll make sure they get the financing necessary to move forward and complete whatever it is that the city thought would be fine for this. Now, if you just go up the street, if you go across the street from where we're sitting, okay, you'll enter the doors of a lot of what I call public housing, maybe something else, and you're not gonna go in. Recently, there's been some cleanup, but it's almost a shame that nothing's been done. The reason for that, of course, is the financing to do it. I'll be able to create that financing. That financing will give better living options to the people who are there. They deserve it. And it was our mandate to do it. We're not doing it. We'll fix up those places. And over time, where some of them are paying, we'll recoup over the next 10 to 20 years, based upon what we can borrow money for now, we'll recoup all that. So why continue to live in a situation that you wouldn't let your worst enemy, you might let your worst enemy go in there. That's only one thing.
Yeah.
So, but if I go across the board, and if we consider new housing as an important step in in what I'll say the development of an ongoing Beverly, that's a very important point. I look at it far differently, I think, than anyone running for mayor would look at it. I believe that the city itself, and we've got the capability, we've got the personnel, doesn't have to give away property or to people coming in, although we wouldn't stop it, who are developers, particularly for housing. We should do that. We can do that. Now, we might use the same people, but at the end of 20 years, the city of Beverly is going to own that property, not somebody else.
Well, you're getting into an area that's a little dicey. Public housing has had some rough times. Some of the major projects actually got torn down, and Columbia Point in Boston was a public housing facility, wasn't doing well, and they sold it off to a private developer, and now it's in better shape. So there gets to be an issue, I think, that needs to be addressed somehow or other. If we're going to have public housing run by the city, how is it going to be different than some of these other areas that have gotten into trouble?
I don't know, but I wouldn't use that as an excuse for not doing something. And if you were sitting here and we would debate...
I'm not trying to use it as an excuse,
but I know that.
Recognize that it's a problem. What's the plan to address a known problem?
Well, there's always a problem with any project, no matter if it's housing or if it's manufacturing or anything else. That comes with the game.
Oh, yeah.
So the question is, who are you using, okay, as your professionals to give advice? Are you following it? That doesn't necessarily mean success. But that shouldn't be a detriment to moving forward, taking action, and doing something that makes all the sense in the world. And I can point out, well, I know at least 10, but I won't even talk about it, projects where we should come in and we should make sure that they get to a point where we could then judge whether they're successful or not. I don't expect everything that I'm going to do if I am mayor and if I'm allowed to do this, because it's not, and again, I look at this as very important. I don't really know, or I never discussed any of these kinds of problems with, let's say, any of the aldermen that are out there. I've got to begin to meet with everybody in the city, and I don't care where they stand. It can be somebody that's part of our supply system at the bottom of the rungs coming up. I've got to get out there, be with people every day. I've got to seek their advice. I've got to be with the police chief. I've got to talk to him about what are his problems. Now, I know what some of them are because I've gone into the firehouse. I've seen what they've had to live with that we all know should be corrected. They haven't been, and this I don't throw at the current mayor. He's a money manager. He's done a good job. I believe, well beyond that. If there's a problem and we can fix it, and what it takes is money, this is the time to get that money. And I'm going to be very outspoken. I'm going to be very aggressive about it. I then can also look at some of the great opportunities that aren't being, at least in my opinion, aren't being taken advantage of in terms of the creation of more jobs, more income for the city. I look at the Beverly Airport, a magnificent opportunity there that's sitting. I've had a meeting with the lady who's remarkable, that's running the place, and there's so many opportunities there for us, even for local businesses, to be involved with what's happening there now.
For instance, what kind of
well, very simple, okay? There's many, but a lot of people that I don't know how interested they are in it. I happen to have some public companies that are doing this. The use now of drones, which is fairly new concept, to be used not for playthings, but industrially. So,
well, you think it's something like an Amazon warehouse where they would send the
correct.
the
Absolutely.
products out on a drone.
Absolutely, it's a great. Yeah, you've. That's one of many. Absolutely correct.
Well, recently there's been an article in the paper about making Beverly Airport a more commercial.
Yes, well, that's true, and it will be, and it is. If you go up there now and see some of the larger planes, and there's a lot going on with the runways to make it even better, of individuals who own them personally, and the business that they can bring, and it's really more working again, recognizing, and the airport is on one place, assets that Beverly has that we're not really using to the extent that would help the city of Beverly, and the city of Beverly help their residents. Mm-hmm. I think, it's interesting. I look at it, and I have a conversation almost every day with someone who's working in the city or for the city. Just what are the problems? Now, you can have someone that's prejudiced in many different ways. It doesn't mean their thoughts are appropriate, but I've got to get out and have a chance to see where there are other situations I'm unaware of that I can be, as a mayor, be helpful where it's capital that's required. Now, I could point, if you go down Tosia and see some of the open space, if you come right off of 128 and see the enormous acreage that's sitting there, we can put that to work. We can bring additional industry to Beverly. Mm-hmm. We've got there are so many assets. My dad told me, and of course, I didn't follow his advice too well, and it's maybe a little late, and this goes way back. He said, son, you never have to cross the bridge, meaning it's all here. Okay. And it is.
Well, Beverly's got a tremendous location, but most of the emphasis right now seems to be on what can we do around the railroad stations for transit-oriented development, which implies bringing in people from Boston to become residents of Beverly. Is that something you're comfortable with, uncomfortable?
I don't know. I wouldn't even. I'm not looking to bring in residents from Boston to be residents of Beverly. I want Beverly to be the kind of community that people look at and say, boy, that'd make a great place for us. They've got a great educational system for my kids, okay? There's plenty of activity going on, and I have to get to Boston, so I've got good transportation. No, I'm not out to bring someone else in. If they don't identify with the city or don't see the opportunity, then I would not have done a good job.
Okay, well, that brings up another issue. As mayor, you're a member of the school committee, and you just mentioned that Beverly has a good school system.
I didn't say they had a good school system.
Okay, what did you say exactly?
I said they have a school system.
Oh, okay, that's even more interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think should be done with the school system?
I can't.
What influence would you put on the school committee?
I wouldn't do anything until I met with the people who are on the school committee, until I talked to those people who are kind of detractors, until I got some input from professionals who know much more about it than I do. If you look at what I've done in the past, I'm not a genius. I'm not somebody who's the best administrator in the world. I am somebody that can build teams, and I've built some great teams. I am somebody then who can get the financing for these teams, and I can build businesses. You don't know it, and even they don't know it at where I am now at Cummings. I raised the most money for any company there in, I think it was 2000, I'm going back a little.
Yeah.
So I was an old man at the time. I think it was just before 1997 or 8, okay? It would have been the biggest loss that Cummings would have had at the time, the biggest, okay. I raised 30 to, maybe it was 60 million for them to bring in. And then I tried to help the company. Eventually, they made some mistakes, and it didn't work. But I can attract that kind of capital if the product is good. And so getting the product to good is a result of other professionals who are around here now, some of whom I'm talking to, and making it happen. But I'm not the wizard.
You're the one that pulls the strings.
I'm behind that guy.
You're behind that guy.
I put him in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how I view my role. I get to be a cheerleader, but I get the information. I use those people who at least I find are most expert, and then we go with it. We go with it.
Yeah.
But if you could, Beverly, and people have to realize this, you know, I went to the, which was fabulous, this was the other night where they had the big band playing and people were walking around, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
And
The block party.
the block party, right. And people doing a wonderful job, Beverly Bootstraps and all that. And at one of the places, a wonderful woman, I'm sure you know her, very well known in the city, can't remember her name. She was talking about, you know, downtown Beverly. There's no downtown Beverly. People who are in places of making things happen. Now I'm talking about where the Beverly YMCA is, across the street. You got the old Briscoe in back of that. That's not downtown Beverly anymore, okay? Because what does downtown Beverly mean? Well, the old days was that's where the shopping is. That's where you go. No way. Okay, so what do we do with that? So we take down those buildings, which create all kinds of problems, and we do it as any good business people would do. Both sides, the owners and the buyers, have to be satisfied.
Yeah.
I can make those kind of things happen and come out with a result that'll make Beverly a much a better place to live for the entire population.
Well, once you start talking about changing downtown Beverly,
Yep.
it used to be we had 2 department stores. I remember that, and Cohen's,
Yeah,
and
right.
Elkhorn, and all the rest of that.
Al, yeah,
And
right.
the shopping malls took all this business away. Everybody now goes to the mall if you want to buy a hat, some clothes, shoes, anything.
No, they don't go to the mall. They go to this little machine,
Yeah, that's
and then what they do is they send in something and it comes delivered.
so. Without a shopping center downtown,
Yep.
what draws people to it, or what makes it a downtown?
Well, let's not think of it as downtown. And let's not think of it as drawing power. People, there's a great church there.
Yeah.
That's drawing power. There's another church. That's drawing power.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's give them parking. Let's make it easy for them. Okay? And let's help them. Let's support them in many ways. And there's many ways that we can do it.
You're almost implying that we don't need a classic old-fashioned downtown. We need something new and different.
Yes. Well, we shouldn't call. What we need to do is improve the conditions for anyone that's there, and anyone that should be there, okay? And for anybody that's walking, and particularly for the large institutions that are there that really make Beverly, okay? Now, what's kind of unique about Beverly is that if you go to that spot and go up in the air and look out, for me, there's no better scene in the world. Let me sit and look out at Baker's Island from any place in Beverly, okay? and I'm in heaven.
Okay.
That's the best, okay? So we're not making use of that and taking advantage of it and making it easy for the people.
Well, you're implying some high-rise buildings, in other words.
Exactly correct.
Okay.
Now, a high-rise building, let's not talk about a high-rise building. A high-rise building is in New York City. We're not going to have a high-rise building, okay? But we're going to have, and it may even be similar to some of the buildings you're seeing on Rantoul Street. We're going to call those high-rise buildings?
No,
No, they're not, okay?
yeah. They were
They're
3,
not.
4 stories, 70 feet.
That's correct. Now,
70 feet tall.
all right, so the developers, good for them. They went through everything, and some people are happy with it. Most of my old friends, of course, well, look what they've done to Beverly. Look what they did to the corner where the old Harper Garage used to be. It's terrible. I said, you give me what, are you kidding me? I used to go to Harper's Garage and go into the goddamn place, and there was noise and there was and all that. Look what's replaced it. I said, the problem with old-timers like me, okay, is not recognizing, and not everybody, okay, that things like this have to come to pass no matter where the cities are. You can go to Salem and see what they've just done across from the old railroad station, and everybody's, oh my God, look what they've done to it. Well, they've created living space for people. They've created business opportunities, and that's what happens. But the question is, whose advantages it from a financial standpoint? I want it to be Beverly's.
So you're implying that what used to be downtown will become a community, it's almost self-contained, where you have residents, not high-rise, tall buildings, being able to look out to Baker's Island,
Yeah,
and have the amenities there so that people that live there can get most of their needs locally that they can't get from Amazon or
well,
one of
that's
these
true.
other.
Well, everyone has transportation. And we've done a great job for seniors to have the buses going around, so they bring them up to the shopping center in Centerville or wherever it is that they're going to go. The other thing is, if we think about, and unfortunately I lost the thought, which is typical of me, we're stuck with what's been put on top of the old YMCA. All right?
Yeah.
So it isn't that we're going to do it. It's been done.
Yeah.
Now, is that bad? Is it good? Well, it opens up some great housing for those people who are less advantaged.
Yeah.
Should it have been someplace else? Yes.
Okay, where else?
Well, where else? I'll drive you around the city of Beverly, and I'll show you acreage that could be very easily developed. I will bring new companies, I'll bring new opportunities from outside, whether it's outside the state or somebody else, because we'll offer them things that nobody else, I shouldn't say nobody else is doing. If they're sharp, they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's, you reach out, you find out what fits, what's good for somebody else, but it's under our control.
Yep.
And I'll move those businesses that a quote should be and would like to be, let's say, closer to the highways, okay, or where they're not interrupted, they've got enough space in the street so they could bring in big trucks. We'll move them to a lot of the land that we own.
Yeah.
The size of Beverly, if you go through and see what it is, it's enormous.
Yeah.
And right now, because of where the economy is, I wouldn't be talking like this if if we were where money rates were quite different or we had a strong dollar. We don't, and this is the opportunity to take advantage of that.
Okay. Well, believe it or not, we've had almost a half hour of fun. And,
Yeah, no, I don't believe you.
okay. And we're getting down to the point where you can talk directly to the camera and make your pitch. Why should somebody vote for you?
Why? it depends upon what you want from the city of Beverly. It depends upon what you want for your kids. It depends upon so many things. With me, you're going to have somebody that is going to create debt for the city, that's going to move a lot of things forward. And if you're happy with the city now, if you're happy with what's going on with housing, if you're happy that you can't get a job from Beverly and yet we're hiring people from outside that under emergency situations can't get here and help, on whether it's the police department, whether it's the fire department. And by the way, I'm not blaming those people, but I'm for anyone that lives in Beverly that wants Beverly to be a better community, whether it's for themselves, their kids. That's what I'll be fighting for. Will I make mistakes? Of course I'll make mistakes. I made a lot in my life. Is my background, have I accomplished enough in the past so that you can have some degree of confidence that I'll be able to carry this out? I think I have, and I'm happy to talk about it. So it's just, this is my final song. I mean, I think I got enough time to last out the the period of time. By the way, you don't have to pay me. I can't take a salary. I'm not going to take a salary anyway. So you'll save some money there. I don't know what else.
Okay.
By the way, I'm going to be all for helping the non-for-profits in Beverly. And by the way, a lot of us in Beverly are unhappy about an Endicott, don't appreciate what they really bring to the city, but don't like the fact that they're not paying taxes and building. The same with some of the other institutions. But I'll be working with them, unlike I think those in the past, to maybe create some advantages for the city of Beverly that weren't there before.
Okay, sounds like a good deal. And thanks for joining us this evening. Wish you the best of luck with your campaign.
Luck is what I need. Yeah.
Well, that's it. You make your own luck.
That's true.
Yeah.
I should have said that.
Yeah. And you hit one of my hot subjects of housing in Beverly, but that's another story for another day. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And as you can probably figure out, this is election season, so we'll be doing more shows, having discussions with various candidates. The first bunch of shows we'll do will be based on candidates that are in these races that are going to cause a primary, which is the mayor's race, and Ward 3 right now is up there. And I think we're going to have a primary on city councilor at large. And so there's 3 good races that are coming up shortly. And well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for next time.